And I assume that everybody can see me. Oh, well, maybe not see me, but for sure see my screen. Um,
We can see you, David, as well, so don't worry.
oh, good. Thank you. Uh, so, first of all, thanks for inviting me to come here and talk. It's kind of a bittersweet topic for me. Kind of woulda, coulda, shoulda been a DRUPA. There's certain things that that I love about DRUPA, and we'll go through some of them. But basically, this is a virtual overview. You know, for those of you who have never been to DRUPA, um, you couldn't possibly cover it in 45 minutes. Matter of fact, you can't. You're pressed to cover it in a week, which is one of the reasons why it usually goes for more than a week. But we're going to try and cover it. Deb talked a little bit about who I am. Basically, this is the short story. I travel around a lot, a little less now. My wings have been clipped. But I work with different companies, helping them productivity, margins, and market reach, and pretty much in the printing, packaging, and publishing markets. Now, DRUPA. So DRUPA is, first of all, it's not just an exciting event in a fun city. I mean, Dusseldorf's lovely, but it's a big deal. And it's a big deal not just because it's a show. I mean, if you look, you know, the shows that we're doing now, because we're not allowed to go to these wonderful events like a DRUPA or many of the other events that should have happened already this year. We're forced to move into this virtual reality, and you know, I'm getting a little tired of being virtual. I like to be out there, visit, press the flesh, as they say, you know, and talk to people and learn about things. But so DRUPA is not really just about going to a fun event in a big city. DRUPA actually is a lot more than that. And for those of you who have been to DRUPA, and my first DRUPA was in 1982, and it's a quadrennial experience. Every 4 years, DRUPA comes. And what's interesting is it's not just a showroom. It's not just about or showrooms. I think at one point there were 21 halls. I don't know how many there will be next year, but it varies based on what's out there and how many different vendors and developers come to these things and present. But it's really more than just a hall. It's really a way that we come together, we as an industry. We come together and we talk about and learn about the drivers, the trends, technology, opportunities, and importantly, not just for the users, not just for the print service providers, but also for the manufacturers, the machine manufacturers, the software developers. This is where they go to see what their competition is doing. This is where they go to see what their potential audience is interested in and could be interested in. So there's a tremendous depth to DRUPA that is hard to get with virtual experiences. So what I thought I would do is I would go through the drivers and the trends and some technology and some opportunities. Again, compressed in terms of time, but hopefully not in terms of the depth of information you're going to be able to get. So first of all, drivers. So there's a lot of transformation. I don't have to tell you. Look, you know, here I am meeting with you in a virtual environment. Yes, we're here because of a pandemic, but things are changing, and they were changing before the pandemic. You know, consumer behavior has been changing. The way we buy things, the way we interact with people is changing. The experience are more personal, targeted. There's a tremendous, about time, awareness about environment and the impact of environment. And a lot of the things, this pandemic is probably one of them, that we're seeing are really an after effect, if you will, of some of the stress that the environment is under. And of course, technology development, you know, we're going through major technology developments. We've been through you know, the various renaissance over time. And we talk about things. We love to throw out buzzwords. Marketing people love to do that, Industry 4.0 and, agile and this and that. Look, it's really, how do we use technology to deal with this transformation and to keep up with it and to help it change? So it's cyclical. It actually feeds off itself. And in terms of the pandemic is not really going to give us anything new. All it's doing is accelerating what's already been going on. People have been buying things online for years, but they're not buying them online fast enough. BOPIS, whoever heard of BOPIS? Buy online, pick up in store, right? There's an acronym. And we're doing it now because there's a pandemic, but the infrastructure, the needs have already been there, and it's just going faster now. So let's look at a few trends. Okay, not a lot of time, but where are things going and why? Well, if I look at it and I think about the critical trends, first of all, more with less. We got to do more with less because we just have to. The competition's there. Things are moving very fast. And we don't even have the time to do more with more. We have to do it with less. Digitization, everything is getting digitized. Analog machinery is getting digitized. Digital machinery is already digitized. The way we communicate is digitized. And that's allowing us to get involved in connected processes, because that's a big part of it. That's one of the big trends is, how do we connect all this thing? And not just connect it to itself and within our own lives and our own organization, our own business, but also to our customers and to our vendors and our suppliers, because all of these connected processes really do feed off each other, and increasingly will so more and more. It helps drive automation. The connecting the processes helps drive automation. Obviously, you have to put it in place, but it helps drive the automation, which allows you to do more with less. It allows you to do a lot of what's been going on now with the pandemic, where no, we can't all go be on site in the plants. So what we'll do is we'll either go in a staggered environment, or we'll just work from home, and we can do that with automation and connected processes. They help facilitate another big trend, which is the shorter runs and turn times. A lot of the run lengths are continuing to get shorter, and the turn times are continuing to get faster. And a lot of all of this, as you look at it, actually helps drive one of the newer trends that we're seeing, which is kind of bespoke and hybrid solutions. And I'll show you some of those in a little bit, but basically what that means is we're actually creating and using this technology to help build more efficient, single purpose types of production facilities and production processes. And that's a big part of what we're starting to see. Okay, as an industry, used to be your print. What do you do? Oh, I'm a high quality printer. I mean, that was the standard tagline. You go to a show. Hi, what do you do? I'm a high quality printer. Look, everybody's a high quality printer. If you're not a high quality printer, then you're selling ice cream somewhere. But if in fact you are a printer, the chances are what you do falls into two main categories: either printed products, which are kind of predefined products, and we do business cards, we do envelopes, we do signage, things like that. We do constrained design, things that actually there are certain limitations in terms of what those printed products are. And then printing services, which is really kind of ad hoc. It's, I don't know, what do you want? Oh, you want a face mask? We do face masks. You want signage? You want a plastic divider to put in your school or your business? Yeah, we do that. Okay, and we'll put whatever you want on it. Variable techniques, variable production technique. They're not always the same. They are ad hoc. They're variable. And those are really, if you look at and think about your business and what you do, I'm sure that you can see that you begin to fall into one of those two types of differentiations. Collaboration is a huge trend. I talked before about how a lot of these things come together, and it's really internal collaboration and external. Internal meaning that it's within your own organization, right? You collaborate with the guy next to you or in the other department for sure, and you do that now in a much more connected and automated fashion, hopefully. But also externally, again, as I said earlier, with your customers, with your suppliers. These are all with your partners, with your process partners that actually work with you to put these things together. If you look at this this is my holistic, and I bring, if you've heard me speak before, I bring this out, and I bring it out because this is something that we spent a lot of time putting together. And it's actually based on something I put together in the 90s when I was doing work with Siebold. But basically what this does is it says, look, this is what your business and your processes need to model against. You have production, you have process management, you have business and information management. Then you have an interface that allows you to connect with your customers and your partners. And the reality is that your customers and your partners have a very similar requirement and a very similar type of mapping that they have on in their operation as well. And these all come together. And when people talk about Industry 4.0, this is really the ground floor of Industry 4.0. This is what makes it work, because all of this information and these processes can be connected together. E-business, right? It affects everybody. Everybody is now, because we build these interconnected processes, we can facilitate business processes between the buyer and the seller. We can coordinate production processes. We can create a standard structure for business, and you can call it Industry 4.0. You can talk about the different standards in terms of communication standards, etc. But basically, it's standard structures for business. And of course, the cloud is helping a lot of that, because that gives us a place to do those connections instead of trying to just, tie wires together with everybody. If we think about all of these different processes that we're working with, right? And to me, they're all agnostic workflow solutions. It used to be that you were a Heidelberg shop, or you were a Xerox shop, or you were a Canon shop. The reality is, if you're a print service provider, you probably have equipment from a half a dozen or a dozen more different manufacturers, software vendors, and you need to tie it all together, because if you don't, you wind up with workflow silos, which definitely don't work. They work against you. That takes all the best of intentions and makes it even more difficult to do business. So you need to be able to tie all this together. And there's a lot of different types of workflow solutions that allow you to do that. We call it pipeline automation. So if we think about all of those things, right, and these trends, what are the important process concepts? Well, collaboration, as we said, process automation, and a manufacturing mentality. You really, yes, there's a lot of craft in what we do, especially in those ad hoc kinds of manufacturing and print services that we talked about, but it still requires a manufacturing mentality, because that's how you're able to make money and to continue to do the kinds of things you need to do and grow your businesses. I told you I'd talk a little bit of what this hybrid bespoke thing is, right, as a trend. And it's really, hybrid bespoke is really driving, one of the things that's driving printing is an integral part of manufacturing and marketing. It used to be that printing it kind of stood on its own. And now what you're starting to, and you go to a print shop, that's where printing happens. What's been very interesting lately, and it's one of the reasons why our government and many governments around the world are having trouble getting their hands on how big is the printing industry, because printing is not just happening at a printer. Printing is happening as part of a process. It's happening as part of a manufacturing process. If it's in packaging, it's happening on the manufacturing line. If it's in marketing and you're a marketing services organization, you're not necessarily a printer, but you may do printing. You may have printers, printing machines and finishing machines, etc., in your facility. So as it becomes part of this integral part of this manufacturing and marketing, it really takes on a life of its own and becomes a lot more custom Well, that's really what bespoke is. Bespoke is nothing more than custom. It's custom to a specific, whether if it's a custom suit, for those people who still get out of their offices and get to wear suits, it's custom. All right. One of the things that are driving a lot of this bespoke technology and this bespoke manufacturing is inkjet, for sure. There's no doubt about it. And the printhead is driving it. And as you can see up here, this is just a few, although the probably the bigger names of companies that are actually manufacturing and developing the printhead technology that's finding its way into the machine that you have on your floor if you're a printer, the presses, the flatbed presses, the roll fed presses, the sheet fed presses, the labels, the add-ons to your existing offset presses. These are the people who are actually putting together the inkjet technology, and each one of these technologies is slightly different, and which is one of the reasons why you can apply it differently to a different application, and that's great because that gives us even more possibility in terms of what we can do with inkjet in a bespoke, in a custom manufacturing arrangement. You know, the most obvious is these hybrid presses, and these are, I'm going to do a lot more in this session is going to be around commercial, but this is a great example of what a hybrid press would look like, where you're actually taking a number of different types of technologies, putting them together and building a solution, an at-purpose solution. So, you know, if you look at the top, that's from Mark Andy, and that's a solution that has digital printing, it has flexo printing, it has some embossing and embellishment. The thing that says Uteco, that's a joint venture between Kodak and Uteco, which is a big flexo house that's for flexible packaging. And they putting these things together to build very specific output tools. And the same thing with what you see, the Graphium from FFEI, from Fujifilm, and Canon's Label Stream 4000, which basically starts with paper in, and you come out with a label that has it's die cut, it has embossing, it's been inkjet printed, it's been flexo printed. Very specific technologies for a specific end, to a specific end. And it's not just for presses. This is a fascinating machine. This is from a company called ABG. Actually does nothing but, it can do some printing, but it's primarily an embellishment machine that does printing on the sign, where the ones I just showed you before were printing machines that did embellishment on the sign. And this can do all sorts of wonderful foil stamping and die cutting and throw a little printing on top of it. This is, to me, what the kind of the epitome of what a bespoke manufacturing process is. This one, interestingly enough, is not using inkjet. This is using HP's Indigo technology, which is really an electric photographic process. And they take one of their machines and they put it together with a laminator, and basically it goes in as paper and it comes out as a pouch. And there's a pouch line that actually fills the pouch as well. And you can build this for $3 million. Think about that. It used to be you'd buy an offset press for $3 million, and here you could buy a production manufacturing system that includes printing and will fill, you know, and fill bags of nuts or whatever your machine, your product is, for $3 million. Absolutely amazing. All right. So one of the beauties of DRUPA is you get to walk through all those halls, and I got to tell you that. For me, it used to be, you know, this is before I had my, maybe I had an Apple Watch the last time, I don't remember. But we would do probably 10 to 15 miles a day in this campus through all of these different booths, going back and forth and back and forth. and it was a whirlwind. So I can't give you the whirlwind of 20 different booths, but I'm going to try. So, you know, put your sneakers on, because again, if you're going to DRUPA, you got to have sneakers. If you don't have sneakers, you will be crippled at the end of the first day. I can tell you right now. Okay, software. So there's lots of halls, lots of booths with software in it. I talked before about tying things together, right? And here's this, and this is an example of a customer that I worked with. But look at all of these different companies on the left here of your screen. So we have a couple of different kinds of. We have MS, which is a print management system. Twist Print is a print management system. You've got Ultimate Technographics, who's the premier automated imposition software. Fujifilm, Canon, InDesign, which of course is a part of most workflows, whether you wanted it to be or not. InFocus, Pit Stop, and Switch, which in this case is tying all this together. And again, the way I look at it, it's really this agnostic modularity. Remember before I said you most likely have a lot of different machines and a lot of different processes, and you need to tie them together. And interestingly enough, kind of the lingua franca of tying a lot of this together is XML. And whether it's called GDF or not, it's still XML. And tying together in a way where you can bridge all of these different things is the key in terms of software. So that was our software view. We visited probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 10 booths. Are you tired yet? Next booth. Now we're getting down to hardware. And what I did with this is I tried to look at a number of printer vendors. I tried not to. First of all, it's all going to be alphabetical, and I looked at what I believe in each of them is their current flagship machines. So in the case of Canon, for example, there are 3 different machines here. You've got their new InfoPress IX, the VariPrint VariPrint IX, which is their new VariPrint like the i300. This is the next generation. It's an inkjet machine. You have the ImagePress 10,000, which is their toner-based machine, and their ProStream, which is their large, high productivity inkjet machine. And do they have other machines? Absolutely. If you were to go to the Canon booth, which probably is more than a booth, it probably is a whole hall, or at least half a hall, or 3/4 of a hall, there would be a lot of machines. Can't cover them all. Next, Fujifilm. So Fujifilm has a lot of things. Fujifilm, I showed you inkjet heads. They make inkjet heads. Fujifilm owns Dymatics. They make ink. They make all sorts of other types of devices. But this is their flagship. They make a lot of flat sign and display machines, a lot of display machines. By the way, not really covering display machines. Sorry, not really covering packaging, not covering display machines. Just don't have enough time. This is their commercial print machine. This is their Fujifilm J-Press 750. It's a great commercial printer. It's an inkjet print machine that also is used. A lot of people use it for folding carton work. Heidelberg, you heard of them? Heidelberg still owns, I believe, over 60% of the offset printing machine market. But offset, this is not your father's offset or your grandfather's offset. Heidelberg, as well as all the other offset printer manufacturers and even flexo printer manufacturers for that matter, have taken digitization and computerization to the next level and applied it against analog technology to really get efficient with it. So they, Heidelberg calls their technology, their push to stop technology, which basically means that, this thing just keeps running. It makes the plates, it changes the inks, it constantly moves things, the paper through. So as the jobs change, it just keeps changing it, and it could change a job literally in 3 minutes or 4 minutes, which means it's now competitive with a lot of the digital technology, the toner and inkjet technology. It moves things. So you have to begin to look at it that way. It just keeps changing, and it could change a job literally in 3 minutes or 4 minutes, which means it's now competitive with a lot of the digital technology. Okay. Next, I'm getting some feedback, Morton. That way. It Okay, this is HP. We've heard of HP. HP, obviously, very big company. HP's got a huge product line. And if we were to look at what they introduced, and this is what they would have shown at DRUPA. They did a big introduction earlier this year of what they would have done at DRUPA. In their lower left-hand corner is their Indigo line. They upgraded their Indigo line to what they're calling their K series, which is actually Series 5, I believe it is. And you can see that it's about 30% faster in terms of what the output is. Their T-Press up on top, that's their T250, the page-wide T-Press with brilliant inks. What they've done is, like a lot of the inkjet manufacturers, the other production inkjet manufacturers, they've done work with their inks and their presses to be able to utilize more common offset types of paper, so that if you are a print shop and you have offset machines and you have digital machines, you don't have to have special stock for your inkjet, special stock for your offset, special stock for your toner devices. You can either do a pre-coat on some of them, or you can just use the machines the way they are with the new updated enhancements. Now, up until this introduction by HP, and there was actually another introduction that I'll talk about in a second, but up until this introduction of HP by their new, what they're calling their LEPX, which is Series 6, I believe is what it's going to be, and this Indigo V12 that you see in the middle there, that is a toner-based, it's an electrophotographic machine. But where in the past they've only been able to get about 80 feet a minute through, they can now, with that V12, they can reach almost 180 feet a minute through a toner-based machine. So all of a sudden, the toner is not only competitive with inkjet and production inkjet, it's also competitive with flexography. So it's changing the game. And they did it with a lot of different things, but the big thing was most toner machines are what we call a technology we call common impression, right? So there's one impression cylinder that goes around and around, and you're impressing on this impression cylinder each color, and then it goes off either to a blanket or right onto the media itself, and off it goes. Well, that means if it's a four-color image, I have to spin that impression cylinder 4 times to get my image. What they've done is they've actually gone the way that Flexo goes, which is inline, and they each, as you can see in the lower right-hand corner, each unit itself and each color has its own impression cylinder, and it impresses it onto a common blanket that goes around, and they're able to do it as a result a lot faster. It's fascinating. This is somebody else, another company who believes in the blanket, and this is Landa, and Landa has an inkjet technology, production inkjet technology, and everybody's heard about Landa, and really got everybody excited when they first showed them a few DRUPAs ago. It took them a little while to get it out of the development and onto the press room floor, but I could tell you that right now there are probably about almost 20 Landas installed, and they're increasing their installations on a weekly, monthly basis, and they're building facilities to make them faster. So Landa is, you will begin to see more and more of these things. The machine that you see up above is what they call their S10, which is single-sided. It's a production inkjet single-sided. It runs currently at 6,500 sheets an hour. You don't slow it down, you don't speed it up. It's 6,500. You turn it on at 6,500, and the jobs keep changing automatically, or I shouldn't say automatically, based on your demand, how you want it to change. They have an S10P, which is a perfecting version of it, which basically has another unit coming off the back of it. And they're out there in the field as well. One of the things that they hadn't really shown or talked much about was their W series, their W10 and their W10P. Again, 10 meaning single-sided, 10P meaning perfecta, which is really designed for flexible packaging and other types of packaging types of environments. That the W10 was going to be shown at DRUPA this year. I got to see the machines. They exist. They will probably, I'm guessing by now, they're probably in beta at least one plant, if not more. So you'll start to see more of those as well. Kodak, remember them? Kodak has actually been keeping busy. They're developing, and Kodak has, well, they've had their Prosper around for a while. They actually just released their Prosper Ultra 520, which is for commercial print. The Prosper prior to that wasn't really for commercial print. It was more for publication, books, etc. Maybe some direct mail. This is designed for commercial print. This uses their ultra technology, which is the newer of their inkjet technology, and it's actually a pretty amazing output. Their Nexfinity is their flagship toner device, which has 5 color units, but there's up to 12 different types of colors and embellishments that you could put in there, and you can actually run them back through again, and the registration is right on top of it. So you can actually run it through twice, get 5 colors, throw another 5 embellishment things on top of it, and varnishes, and it all does it in line. And they've also, another thing Kodak's been doing, and I give them a lot of credit, is they are very much involved and aware of environmental impact, and as a result, they have doubled down on their Sonora plates, which are process-free plates, and plate setters to go along with that. So they would have been showing a lot of the same thing here. Koenig & Bauer and Koenig & Bauer and Durst. So the Koenig & Bauer commercial offset print, their Rapido 106 is kind of their flagship 106. They make an XL that, you know, for packaging, etc. But for commercial print, that's their flagship product. And then through an affiliation with Durst, they have created the Variajet, which uses a lot of the same transport that like the Rapido uses, but it is inkjet imaging on it. So both of these are available. The Variajet is actually out in beta now. Komori, down at the bottom, that's their offset press, the Lithrome, which is their again their flagship line, and Premia IS-29, which is their inkjet production inkjet press. Konica Minolta, the CurioJet KM1, which has been getting a lot of traction in the marketplace. That's a UV inkjet sheet fed inkjet press, and their AcuraJet C114,000, which is their toner flagship toner press. Screen has 3 kind of flagship machines, kind of all in their line, their TruePress line, the 520 HD, the NX, which is for mono work, and their ZZ, which is primarily for variable data. Ricoh has 2, I mean, they have a lot of machines, but again, their flagship toner is the 9210, which is also highly regarded in the marketplace, and their production inkjet VC70,000, which is probably one of the higher quality, if you will, and I hate to use that term, more offset quality, I guess, production inkjet machines. Zycon, I mentioned that that toner technology is going through some kind of a renaissance, and this is Zycon's new commercial toner EP machine. This is their SX30,000. This was just introduced a couple of months ago, where they have actually increased the speed by almost 60%. So, you know, here you're looking at toner technology, which, because of the flash of inkjet, people started to write off, when the reality is that toner is going through a renaissance too, and starting to become competitive. And you need to start looking at it from a cost and a productivity standpoint. It's not just a matter of, oh, I need to get rid of my toner devices and put in inkjet. What are you doing with it? What's the application? Remember, what kind of a business are you? Are you in a production printed products business, or are you in a printed services business? And finally, X for Xerox. Xerox, they have Baltaro, which is their inkjet, which is kind of built up, production inkjet, which is kind of built on their old the transport from their iGen. They've got the Versant, which is their more entry-level production machine, which is very impressive as a toner-based machine. The Rialto, which is their web-fed inkjet machine, and the Iridescence, which is their flagship toner-based machine that does golds and silvers and other types of embellished color and imaging. Of course, there are halls and halls of finishing machines, and these are just a few of the companies that would have been in those machines. Of course, Bobst and Horizon and MBO. One of the things you'll see if you look at that MBO machine, and you can see it in probably all of the, MBO has it, Hunkler has it, Horizon has it, Bobst has it. There's more and more robotics being shown in finishing. So it's not just that we're automating, now we're actually taking a lot of that manual labor that we used to put even within the automation, bringing it from one process to another process where there were disparate processes, and using robots to be able to move those things around. We saw it at Hunkler last year, I guess it was. There was a robot walking around, I guess rolling around the facility, moving skids of paper between different types of devices. More and more of that we're seeing. Seeing a lot of laser stuff. This is SEI laser, who most of you have never heard of, but SEI is actually the laser inside, if you will. A lot of other companies use SEI lasers in their machines. Bobst uses it, Hunkler uses it. You'll see a lot more of their stuff, whether you see it with their logo on it, or you just see there's a laser, you'll recognize it when you see it. Hycon, another wonderful laser technology for if you're into folding cartons, or you just do commercial print where you require a lot of die cutting and folding. The Hycon beam is amazing technology. Embellishment, huge embellishment. You've got Skodix, who's been around for a while, doing incredible stuff with embellishment, with foils and laminates, and then you've got Activga, who is coming out with a lot of different types of embellishment technology. The one in the middle that you see there is actually one that they bought. They bought the technology from Landa that was shown, and a new technology that they've developed actually here in the States. That you see on the bottom there. And again, it's more packaging related. And if you really want to know about them, let me know, because I've done presentations and I've done articles on them, and I can just reach out to me and I'll get the information to you. Opportunity. So there's a lot of stuff, right? And they said, okay, so, you go through DRUPA and you learn about trends, and you learn about drivers, and basically all of this together comes together with opportunities. And one of the things that I find fascinating, and I don't know whether you've seen the film that Deb and Morton put together about the printer, Thank a Printer. But one of the things that impressed me about that film is something that I've seen for printers and for as long as, and I've been in the printing industry for a long time, 45 years. And that is that print service providers just get it done. They don't even think, they don't think hard about it. They, you know, they just go, whatever it is. If I can't do it the way I was supposed to do it, I'll figure out a way to get it done. So taking all of those things that you see and putting them together into a solution that builds your business, whether it's a new product, a better way to do an existing product or service. Printers do that better than anybody. They really do. But the one thing that you have to know about these opportunities, you know, adoption is a function of adaptation. If you can adapt what you're doing, you can adopt new technologies. Or as I put it to my customers when I see them, technology's easy, people are hard. It's real easy to go out and buy something. It's going to be much harder to get people to adapt to it, to understand it, adopt it, and adapt it into their manufacturing processes and into their day-to-day lives. But that's what makes it happen. That's how you take advantage of all these wonderful opportunities. If you don't have the internal skills or bandwidth, which is very possible, and it's not because you don't want to do it, it's because you're running lean and mean, right? You can always get outside help. It exists. There are people out there who are willing to help you. So at the end of a long day in DRUPA, one of the things everybody, you can go back to your hotel room and collapse, which some people do, or they just go right down to the Altstadt downtown and they go to DRUPA. One of the things Dusseldorf is famous for is Dusseldorf is known as having the longest bar in the world. And it's right alongside the Rhine River. And it's just a lovely place to get together with people, with or without masks, hopefully without masks next time we see them. Or you can go down into the Altstadt and to the beer halls, and people just crowd around, and amazingly, waiters come along. They don't even collect money. They say, what do you want? Okay. They bring it to you. And then when you're ready, they know exactly what you had, even though there are hundreds, if not thousands of people there. It's like magic. Or you go to one of the wonderful private events, like the one in the middle there at the bottom there. That was a birthday party for Benny Landa that I went to at the last DRUPA, where they literally flew people in from Israel to celebrate as well. And for those diehards who didn't have enough of the drinking but really want to close down the night, there's always the Irish pub, which is a great place, a great watering hole. And with that, thank you. Next year, I'm sure there'll be a DRUPA. Don't know what it'll look like. It'll probably be a hybrid event. Some people will be there. Some people will be remote. If you can make it, make it. It's one of those things that you absolutely have to go to at least once, if not more, because you really, really learn and benefit.